Now, earlier in the week, Gareth Southgate named his preliminary squad for this summer's Euros. The big omission from it was Manchester United's Marcus Rashford, who can now look at a summer holiday instead of a place on the plane to Germany. And as luck would have it, Simon Jordan and Graham Souness were discussing Rashford's poor form on their podcast this week.
For Man United, it is more difficult to be a young starlet if you're at Man United than it is anywhere else. They get far too much acclaim.
Adulation, recognition.
Money, recognition, everything. They get far more at Man United than any other football club. And I think that is the case when I was a player, and it's still the case. And I think I take your points, and I think they're totally true and valid about there's been no leadership from the management to him. If you think of Fergie with Ryan Giggs and the way he
dealt with
and he became an absolute world superstar. And again, you hear me talk about this all the time. Who are the senior players that are saying, Marcus, this is the way we do it? He could end up his career. He could be one of the great disappointments in the history of the English game.
Yeah,
with all the ability he possesses.
All right, so that's what Graham Souness and Simon Jordan were discussing. You can listen in to the full episode of Simon and Souness live right now on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. Looking at this 33-man squad, obviously there are some notable omissions. Is Rashford the biggest one to miss out in terms of those notable omissions?
Well, no, I would have been surprised if it had been in, to be honest.
Right.
Because the one thing I would say Marcus needs to do is not the holiday, it's the preparation of a pre-season that has to be his best in his career. Because I think quite clearly last season was interrupted far too often, and he needs a big pre-season to be absolutely ready for what is going to develop next year for him as a Man United player. He's still young enough to think of America, but he's just not played well enough. You form,
You're talking about the World Cup when you mentioned America.
Yeah, and his form has just been too poor, too inconsistent. For Man United, more so. He's hanging onto his place at Man United. Will he play in the final today? Probably, if fit, but not a definite.
Well, Erik ten Hag has said that he wants him to use the fact that he's not been called up by Gareth Southgate as sort of fuel to the fire to show Southgate what he's missing. Like I mentioned, he's not the only big name to miss out. And look,
can I just say that? Can I that comment to show him what he's missing?
Yeah.
Gareth knows Marcus Rashford inside out. Okay.
Yes.
So there's no reason. He would show a sense of loyalty even if he thought he was close. The reason Gareth left him out is because he's nowhere close to being the best of Marcus Rashford.
Yes, I would agree with you in the main, but obviously in past squads, Gareth Southgate has sometimes tended towards loyalty than form or even playing. We saw that in the past with Harry Maguire being called up, Jordan Henderson, Calvin Phillips. So in some ways, and look, you look at this squad now, and Harry Maguire obviously has been playing, so slightly different situation for him now, but he hasn't called up Jordan Henderson, who, as we know, moved to the Netherlands in the hope of trying to play first-team football to pick up a spot in this Euro squad. Obviously, Calvin Phillips, a very different story altogether. He's really not had a great season, unfortunately for him, even with his loan move to West Ham. I mean, as I mentioned then, Southgate in the past has tended to show loyalty. And we haven't seen that. It's a different style. It's a different squad. We've got some younger players being brought through who may not go out to Germany, which he alluded to because he's called them up because he just wants to see them in and around the first team, the senior side, just get a feel for them. But should we be lauding, in a way, Gareth Southgate now? Because he has decided to steer away from some of those players that have been controversial picks before.
Well, I think it was easy to leave Calvin Phillips out. It was easy to leave Jordan Henderson out. They've just what's happened.
But he hasn't done it in the past.
No, but this has been from a period of nearly 9 months, haven't it? How they've played over the course of the season. I think he should be lauded for giving introduction. I'm delighted whether he makes it Eze's in the selection, because I think he's been tremendous the last sort of 4 months of the season, and he's got an unbelievable ability, and he looks like he's so confident when he plays that he can change a game in a moment. Now, whether he makes the final squad, I'm not so sure. But I think in general, it was a very inspiring squad. If you're an England fan and you're looking at that squad, and I'm surprised Luke Shaw was still in it because he's literally his season.
He's not played,
he's not played because of injury. But Gareth is quite desperate at left back position. He's not got. And, he's far more heavy-weighted on the right side than the left.
Yes, and Gareth Southgate did speak about that, didn't he, where he said that Luke Shaw was a pick because, one, he has been the preferred left back in previous, obviously, squads, and he just wanted to give him a bit of a chance to get himself ready for the Euros, so that's why he's put him in this squad. But he also, you kind of got that feeling of, we might be fingers crossed with Luke Shaw rather than a definite that he's going out to Germany. Yeah. This is a 33-man squad that he's picked, so 7 won't make it. Are we looking at those players that have not been called up then? And I know you said Eze, you'd like to see him get in there, but are we looking at the likes of an Adam Wharton, maybe a Mainu, Curtis Jones?
I think Mainu will lose out.
Jarrell Kwanzaa. These are sort of players that probably won't go, but still are being brought up just to get experience and what it's like in the senior side.
Absolutely. And they deserve to be there. Mainu had a really good start, didn't end the season particularly well. His form dropped off, but, that happens with young 18-year-old players. I was delighted for the Adam Wharton. I thought he'd been superb since he's moved from Blackburn, done brilliantly well. And it just shows you that Gareth is all over it in looking at his team who he's putting together. There'll be 1 or 2 big surprises.
Well, there has to be, doesn't there? Because the players I've just mentioned who we don't expect to be going to Germany are those that are new faces. James Trafford as a goalkeeping pick. It's unlikely that he will go. But that's 4 players I think I've mentioned. So there's still another 3 that are going to have to drop out of this.
Do you think Jack Grealish will make it? Not played very much this year.
No. But there is an element maybe of a loyalty. If we talk about loyalty,
he's a little bit different. He can carry the ball, Jack. He can, when you're under pressure and you need someone to get hold of the ball and carry it and take it down the pitch, Jack does that very well. But I'm, obviously not playing for City towards the end of the season, and for quite a period.
You're right to mention him. I mean, the forward options are quite exciting, aren't they, for England? But you imagine 1 or 2 might not go from the selections that he's made. There are question marks over Ivan Toney's form, for example. But the way that Southgate spoke about Toney, it did make you think he might actually be going despite a bad run of form towards the end of the season, just because of the options he said that Toney brings to the squad.
Yeah, well, you do look at players slightly different because sometimes you have to change games and you look at the opposition, what a certain type of player can affect them. I mean, Anthony Gordon was probably, Phil Foden didn't play the left side of, as wide towards the end of the season, was more central, done brilliant. But if you said to me who's been the best on the left, I would say Anthony Gordon. Well, how he played this season for Newcastle, he stood out and he's played on Newcastle. He's played on the right as well. Played numerous times on the right.
Well, there are 2 friendlies coming up for England in June: Bosnia-Herzegovina and then Iceland. And after that, Southgate has to cut that squad down to 26. So 2 important games coming up before the Euros campaign starts, with that game against Serbia on the 16th of June. Don't forget, talkSPORT bringing you all the live action from Germany when that tournament gets underway. You're listening to Game Day Breakfast this Saturday morning. We are going to hear more on the future of Erik ten Hag next.
talkSPORT Breakfast, waking you up Monday to Friday morning from 6 a.m. on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.